what you guys are going through, and it's hard to get up on Monday. But with that being said, I appreciate all you guys coming out here. It's an honor for me to be able to speak to other motivated trainers and individuals like yourselves. So my goal for this weekend is to give you guys some real-world, tangible stuff that you're going to be able to take away and immediately apply Monday morning when you start working with your clients and athletes. Sound good? All right, perfect. So this is the Bulletproof Knees and Back Seminar. Now I'm sure some of you may be wondering, who is this guy? Why did Rick bring this guy in from Indianapolis, Indiana, middle of nowhere, to present to us? And I think, if nothing else, I've got a very unique background and one that kind of has given me a unique outlook on training clients and athletes. I've been in the industry 10 years, and I've seen a little bit of everything, and I've done a little bit of everything. I spent 2.5 years at Ball State University, where I was a Division I strength coach. We worked with athletes from all 26 of the Division I level sports there, but my primary teams were soccer, football, powerlifting, men's and women's volleyball. So I got a really unique experience there. I was doing that while I was finishing up my master's degree in sports biomechanics, and at 24 years of age, figured I knew everything and was ready to go off into the real world, right? At that point in time, I went up to a little city called Fort Wayne, Indiana. It's about an hour north of where I grew up, and promptly learned that I knew absolutely nothing. Because while the place was called the Athletic Performance Center, I did virtually zero athletic performance training. I did a lot of rehab, a lot of corrective exercise. A lot of the tools and techniques we're going to talk about this weekend are skills that I picked up in my 2.5 to 3 years there. And I saw a lot of beat up people, not just backs, but shoulders, knees, hips, you name it, I saw it. So again, I went from this performance-based arena to the total opposite end of the spectrum. But I knew that wasn't something I wanted to do forever. Moved down to Indianapolis, which is where I currently reside, and for 2.5, 3 years there, I did one-on-one training. So you guys can imagine, large group training, rehab, one-on-one, and for the last 2.5 years, Bill Hartman and myself opened a gym called Indianapolis Fitness and Sports Training, where we do small group training, 2 to 4 clients at a time, and it's about a 50-50 split. 50% fat loss, physique-focused clients, and 50% young athletes, middle and high school age. So again, I've seen a little bit of everything, and I think that gives me a unique perspective on how to train people in the most effective manner possible. Obviously, I'm a speaker, everything from 30-minute and 1-hour deals to full weekend courses like the one you guys are attending. An author, if any of you guys have ever been to my website, I've done quite a bit of writing over the last 7-8 years. Everything from blogs and newsletters to more major publications on the internet side of things, tmuscle or tnation.com, all the way up to Men's Health, Men's Fitness. So I've been very lucky and very blessed to get in with some good people in that regard. And then finally, I view myself as an athlete. At the end of the day, I was an athlete growing up. I always played sports. I love the competitive nature, just going out and being active and being competitive. Again, I played everything, soccer, baseball, basketball, football. I'll make fun of endurance athletes all weekend, but I did run cross country for about 3 years. So, I've done a little bit of everything, and I think that's going to give you guys a unique perspective and maybe some ideas or thought processes that you guys can take with you back to your clients on Monday morning. So with all that being said, that's like the 5-minute recap of who I am, where I've been. I want to make one thing very clear. This weekend isn't about me. I've been lucky. I've learned from great people. I wanted to make sure I got this in here because I've learned from fantastic people, rehab people, sport performance people, power lifters, Olympic lifters, physical therapists. I've been very lucky. But at the end of the day, today is not about me. You guys have probably been to courses where, the speaker's on their high horse and they're preaching down to, their little disciples. That's not how it is this weekend, guys. I want you guys to get a ton out of this. All right? So to really start this off, we're going to do things a little bit differently. I've never done this before, but I read a lot of stuff, and one of the books I was just reading was on public speaking and how to get your attendees more involved, how to help them get more out of it. So we're going to do things a little bit differently. That's why I needed my whiteboard pens. I want you guys to give me 10 things that you want to learn this weekend. Something about knees, something about backs. Tell me something you want to learn or maybe get more exposure to, and that way I can kind of weave this seminar, more than just seminar presentations and slides, I can weave in stuff that you guys want to learn more about. So I know active participation isn't always the easiest thing first thing in the morning, but does anybody have something about knees or backs they want to learn? Yes?
Yeah. If you got like a client with like lateral traction of the patella and they start to have soft tissue pain,
Yes.
you do a Thomas test and you look at the hip, how to tell if that hip is tight or if it's the opposite shoulder that's making the hip tight.
Okay. So basically we'll talk about like, for lack of a better term, patellofemoral pain or like lateral tracking of the knee. You got it. Hopefully this works. So patellofemoral pain, or we'll just call it lateral tracking. All right, there's one. 9 to go. Who else? Yep.
Just during the assessment, some quick functional movement screening.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we'll just call it functional movement screening, not the functional movement screen. But yeah, we can definitely cover that. That's going to be a big component of the weekend. Next, yep.
I find one of the more challenging is the posterior pelvic tilt.
Okay. Treating like a posterior pelvic tilt? Absolutely.
Back issues to that.
Sure thing. So treating. Do you work with a lot of desk jockeys?
For sure.
Yeah. You guys are seeing how atrocious my handwriting is as well. Okay, posterior tilt, what else?
Low back disconnection.
Are you a physio, physical therapist? Yeah? Okay. I'll give you some thoughts, and I will also give the trainers in the room some thoughts when it comes to disc herniations, okay? Yes?
Core regression from like a kneeling plank.
Okay.
People who can't do a kneeling plank, like how to get them stable.
Core regressions. I like that word, though. We're going to talk about regressions and progressions. Yep. Another garbage term. And I'm going to do my best not to be too sarcastic this weekend. I can't promise a whole lot, but... Oh, we got a sarcastic group? Awesome. Okay, what else? Come on, guys. Make this about...
Real rotations in the pelvic.
Okay, so pelvic or like lumbar rotation? Well, let's just talk about rotation. I like the idea of that. Get me on my soapbox about rotation. Number 8. So close. 3 more. Yeah. You got it. Proper squatting. That's going to be more tomorrow, but we'll absolutely talk about it. Yeah. Yep. And one more. Yep.
Just about glute strengthening, like when is an extension exercise versus rotation, like there's just, some people are already so tight there, but is it a,
Sure.
it's not always with the glutes, but sometimes there's one area.
Better glute function,
Yeah,
basically?
yeah.
Okay. So we'll just say increasing glute function. And just to give me an idea of who I'm talking to this weekend, how many of you would consider yourself like a strength or performance coach? Just raise your hand. Okay. What about like a personal trainer, so more physique-based clients? Okay. And then what about like physios, PTs, more medical-based people? All right, good. I'll probably learn something from you guys anyway, so it'll be good. So those are our 10 questions, and we'll kind of work these into the seminar over the course of the weekend. 2 more things. When I do like an hour presentation, If I'm getting a lot of questions throughout, it kind of slows me down a little bit. It slows the momentum down. This isn't a 1-hour presentation. This is an entire weekend. So if any point in time you guys are lost, you're confused, you don't know what I'm talking about, if I'm not clear enough, let me know. All right? Raise your hand. Now at the same time, there's a fine line. Don't be that guy. The guy that wants his question answered immediately every single time because he paid $500 to get his questions answered. Okay? So there's a give and take there. If you got questions though, slow me down, let me know. And second, always kind of ask yourselves, how does this apply? Especially when we talk about the functional anatomy and that kind of stuff up front, let me know if it's not making sense. If you guys can't figure out how this relates to alleviating somebody's knee pain, their lower back pain, or just keeping them healthy in general. To give you guys a basic outline of the weekend, this morning, if we can get through this morning, it's going to be so much easier because this is kind of the foundational stuff. This is where I have to do a little bit of lecture. But we'll kind of lay the foundation this morning. We'll make sure we take a break in here. We're not going to go for 2 hours straight. Trust me, I don't want to do that. You guys don't want to do that. Like Rick was saying as well, if you guys need to get up, go to the bathroom. We're all big kids here. Get up, go to the bathroom, do whatever you need to do. Okay? But that's a general breakout for the weekend. So I'm a numbers guy. If I was not in fitness, and I can't imagine not being in fitness, but if I wasn't, I would probably do something with numbers. Finance, accounting, like I was good at math. So I like numbers that relate to fitness. That's like perfect world for me. So stats. And you guys have probably seen this number before. 80%. 80% of the clients and athletes you work with will suffer from lower back pain at some point in time in their lives. So when we step back and we think about that, I mean, sometimes we kind of brush these numbers off. That's a huge portion of the population. If we add in cervical pain or neck pain, that number grows to 90%. So this is an epidemic. This is something we have to know more about. And you don't have to be a PT, you don't have to be a physio to understand that clients are going to come to you beat up. They may not need true physical therapy. They may not need surgery. What they need is smarter training. They need a trainer or a coach that understands the human body and how to coach it and program for it to get maximal results. So 80% is a huge number. This is an epidemic. And to give you guys a really good idea of how big of an epidemic it is, I've got a bigger number for you. $90 billion. It's a lot of money, right? This is what Americans spent to treat their lower back pain in 2006 alone. Massive, massive industry, guys. So I want you guys to think about that as we're going through the seminar this weekend. Think about how big of an industry this is and how you guys can maybe start to make your own mark. You know, we all have those clients, you know, they come to us, they slept wrong, they picked up too heavy of a weight, they went and picked up little Johnny and they hurt their back. We have people like that, and then we got people like this. You know, you wonder why people get injured, why they hurt their backs. That's why. Because they do stupid stuff. So this kind of stuff we can't prevent. I can't prevent stupid. But the other stuff we can prevent, and that's what we're going to talk about over the course of the weekend. Now, when people see this slide, immediately, if they don't know me, they say, Mike Robertson is all about the money. Pay Mike Robertson his money, he'll speak anywhere. When I started doing this, I've always been a very people-focused person. You know, that's why I take the time up front. Let's figure out what you guys want to learn about. When it comes to your clients and athletes, I firmly believe if you make it your mission to become the best trainer or coach possible, you guys will never have a shortage of clients. You'll never have a shortage of money coming into your facility. But it's got to be people-focused. It's got to be people-driven. We talked about this over dinner last night. There's something, for lack of a better term, magical about getting somebody from a point where they're in pain, they're dysfunctional, they hurt, they're miserable, taking them from that point to a point where they can live or play their sport pain-free. And that's what's always driven me. And again, I've been very lucky. I've had great influences along the way, great people I've been associated with. But kind of as a challenge to you guys over the course of the weekend, if you really put your effort into this, I think you'll be handsomely rewarded. And I got 4 goals for the weekend. This kind of gives you guys a general idea of the structure and how we're going to cover things. This morning, we're going to cover the functional anatomy. Again, that's the foundation for what we do. The better you understand the anatomy, the better you're going to be able to write programs and coach your clients. Second, we're going to cover the assessment process. Now, what are you guys using as an assessment right now? FMSers? Yeah? Gait assessment? Okay. How many of you are doing no assessment at all? Nobody? Okay. Well, that makes life easy. What I'm going to give you guys this weekend is our lower extremity and lower back assessment that we use at iFast. Step by step, how we do it, what we look at, so that you guys immediately have a better toolbox when you go back to the gym on Monday morning. Third, programming. The whole goal of assessing our clients is not just to show that we're smart or to show them that they're dysfunctional. It's to figure out what their limitations are. Limitations is a word you're going to hear me use quite frequently. At the end of the day, we need to find the limitations because that drives our programming. If somebody has horrible hip mobility, how are we going to address that? What tools do we have available to us to improve their hip mobility? And then fourth, coaching. This is going to be probably 4 or 5 hours tomorrow. It's going to get you guys up, it's going to get you moving, but we're going to work on your coaching skills. Because you could write the best workout known to man, the exact program that your client or athlete needs, but if you can't get them to execute those exercises effectively, you're not going to get maximal results. Does that make sense? Perfect. But you guys know me. I'm an overachiever. I want to do a lot of stuff this weekend. And one of the things is I want to make sure we have fun. So we're going to be serious. I'm going to give you guys a lot of tools, a lot of cool stuff. And then, you know, we'll take a step back and we'll watch something like this. Maybe I'm just evil for watching this kind of stuff, but yeah, not good. Yeah, that can't feel good. But we'll try and have fun, and hopefully you guys don't think I'm like too sadistic or evil. I mean, if that was me, I'd probably have to laugh about it a little bit later. So with that being said, let's kind of start to shape the foundation, start building on that functional anatomy that we were talking about. A foundational principle for me, one of my big rocks, is what's called the joint-by-joint approach to training. How many of you guys are familiar with this concept? All right, perfect. So essentially what Coach Boyle and Gray Cook have told us is that every joint in the body needs certain amounts of mobility and stability. We know that. But what's cool is certain joints in the body typically need more mobility-based training, while other joints in the body typically need more stability-based training. But where it gets really cool is when we see how they flip-flop or alternate in fashion. I knew I was going to do that. So starting at the foot, we need more midfoot stability. The ankle, in contrast, generally needs more mobility-based training. The knee, stability, the hip, mobility, they alternate or flip-flop in fashion. And I stole this quote below from Charlie Weingroff. I'm going through one of his lecture series right now, and it's fantastic. But Charlie essentially explains this as an alternating series of stable segments moving on mobile joints. It's a great quote. When you step back and you think about it, you're like, wow, that's some pretty profound stuff right there. Now, here's the problem. Some people don't want to think critically. They don't look at this and appreciate the fact that this is a guideline. It's general. When we get more specific, that's why we assess our clients, so we can figure out exactly what they need. This is great for generalities, but I like to take things to the next level, take a concept and how can I make this better? And so I actually wrote an